So now this is like the most important aspect of this, and I want you to see the power and force that was done to suppress this information. When I had this breakdown, and it's all operating on the subconscious level. When I had this breakdown, I had put this out into the universe that I am going to be a lot more powerful than you, and you will not be able to get me down. This happened to the wrong friggin' mother. And so I knew that in order for me to unfold the power that I have inside me, I had to heal myself, had to get rid of all of the anger, had to heal my body, had to have my heart as full of love as possible, had to improve my communication skills, and had to gain all of the sciences that will open up your mind to what's really going on. Had to kind of study the internet to find out what the conscious mind is actually thinking and what's motivating you, and how can I communicate through all of those systems. Kind of think I'm ready now. And I've said, um, as soon as this came out, it's like the evilness knew it. And they were trying to associate um, the positive tool into something very negative. They wanted the subconscious mind to associate what I think is the solution into something that's really, really negative. Um, but and they used it through marketing. They used it through the media, and they heavily used it through the media. So they thought that as soon as I opened my mouth, they've associated so much negative energy to it that nobody would pay attention to anything that I say. And I knew that this was going on, but I thought, I'm going to use the power that they're putting out there and just transform it when I'm ready. And in order for, you kind of have to just sit back and let it happen, because the more negative they put out there, the more power it gave me, because they were reaching millions of people. It affected so many people on a subconscious level. They had no idea. But it's like negative energy or negative marketing is also very positive. It still gets out there, it still gets the message out there. People will still remember the concept, although it's negative. And all you have to do is associate the negative information to something that is actually positive, and then it has more power over the negative marketing that was actually put out. So when I had this breakdown, surprisingly, um, the media contacted me. And it was done through the Dragon's Den, ironically. And we're starting to associate evil with dragons. And so these guys actually put themselves out there and call themselves dragons. So it should be in your conscious mind that as soon as you see a dragon or somebody that's claiming, hey, I'm a dragon, they're evil people. They're letting you know they're evil, but they're handing out money, so it makes them appear like they're good guys, but they're actually not. And I went into the Dragon's Den because it was, I wanted to face my dragons, and I wanted to use their tools, and I wanted to eventually one day use it against them. And while I was on that show, um, they absolutely had no intention of even making anything I had to say positive. They Great editing. And first of all, they prevented me from even talking about it by making me sign a legal document. But the legal document isn't very legal at all. And I suppose they don't realize that I'm smart enough because I know the legal system. And what they ended up doing was they phoned me up and they told me I'm in British Columbia and the show was taped in Toronto. and they told me that they would pay for my flight there and back. And they, I'm living off friggin' welfare. They knew that I'm on a disability, so they knew I was living in poverty. And they said, they kept telling me over the phone, "Don't worry about it. We'll pay your trip. Just use your rent money. Use whatever money you have now, and get to Toronto. And then as soon as you get to Toronto, we'll give you a check, and that will reimburse you for your flight that down there and pay for your flight back." So it was like, okay, great. As long as you're going to pay both ways, I'll take the risk. And this was all done through conversations. It was, none of this was written down, um, but it was in emails. Ironically, the computers got shut down and I lost those emails. But at the time, I had the emails that said all of this stuff, that they were going to pay for the flight. So I had absolutely no worries at the time that they would pay for the flights. And so I get down there, and then they tell me that the only way they will give me the money back is if I sign this paper that says I will not talk about the show, I will not say anything negative about the show for something like 4 years. I can't divulge anything that went on in the background. I cannot say anything. They basically put a gag order on me to say absolutely nothing about my experiences with the show. And I had to sign this document in order to get my check. And they also put in that document, I had to agree that I wasn't threatened. And it's like, the whole friggin' document was a threat. And it's like, even the idea that I agreed that I wasn't threatening was a threat. It's like, that wouldn't stand up in a court of law for even a second, because you only have to use the logic of, okay, was I getting a check before I signed that document or not? You know, at what point were they going to give me the check? Before I signed that document or after I signed that document? And how was I going to get home? And what money was I using to get there with? And as soon as they admit that no, we wouldn't give the check until they sign that document, they're already admitting that the whole freaking document was a threat. So I had no worries in signing this document because it wasn't legal, and they kind of know it. And I didn't say anything or go public with this information earlier because I wanted them to use their media as much as possible. And so what ended up happening is they made me look like a total idiot. They didn't allow any information out there. They didn't even let me speak. It was criticize me, put me down, is what do they call it? The nut bar, all of these freaking names to encourage me to be extremely angry and pissed off. I'm kind of proud of myself because, you know, I was at the peak of my anger. I mean, they were paying me to be angry at that time. The government was paying me because I was so freaking angry and had no control over myself. And it's like, if you lived in my shoes and seen how corrupt and how much violence and abuse I was dealing with, and not one single person out there was there to help you. I mean, the police weren't there, that just nobody was there to help abuse. When you sit there and say women don't leave abuse, like the police will protect you and they go back, it's like, that's so full of crap. Police do not protect you. You have no other option, and abuse increases when you leave. And that's information that people don't want to tell you about. So, I was in a stage of, yeah, I was really, really pissed off. I was very angry, and it was really, really hard to control anger at that time. But, there should be tapings of that show on the internet. Um, so go search it out. Dragon's Den, it's in Canada. Judy Lapointe, Bottled Intentions. Try and find it, download it, and keep it in your own files and upload it. And I will even try and find it. But if I use it, I know that they'll probably shut me down right away just for copyrights. But if enough people do it, it will take an awful lot longer. They basically have to shut their own systems down to shut the internet down. They're not prepared to shut everything down yet.